to WTF Rc Cars. So, we're going to have to see if we can fix another problem on the Kraton Exb. Let's see if I can show it you. So, if I lift, if the suspension gets compressed, you can see over that side, the drive shaft tries to pop out the diff cup. Not sure if you can see it clearly there, but the end of the dog bone's just popping outside a cup, which basically causes it to jump out and then smash all this cup up. Now, this one has the Wtf bulkhead and, see if I can get you a picture, the Wtf hubs fitted, but I've had this problem ever since I first got it, even with completely stock parts fitted. It's exactly the same. Now, the main issue, and this could have been fixed a number of ways if Arrma would have wanted to, so a few mil slightly longer drive shaft would have placed that dog bone further across into the cup, which would have meant it didn't jump out. They could have restricted the travel on the suspension, so if we watch, it's a bit difficult trying to get it in shot. But as I compress the suspension, you can see the pin comes clean out of the diff cup. So if they'd have restricted the suspension travel, that would have worked. But by far the easiest fix would have been fit the correct size A-arms, because these upper and lower arms are way out for this car. This is how it arrived, and the wheels are tilted in far too much. And there's also far too much toe out on the front. Now, if these arms were shorter, that would have stood the wheels further upright, and it would have also meant that the distance that this link arm is set as standard would have been smaller, so both wheels would have faced more straight forward rather than pretty much that angle when they're both facing out. So, we're going to look and see what else we can do with it. Now, the quickest fix would be take the spacer out of there and remove this spacer. So this spacer is bigger than that one, so bringing that one in a little will shorten the distance to that arm, and that will correct the toe out a little, and then this one will bring the wheel further in line with straight up. You don't want them exactly straight up, and you don't want to have no toe out. So, first thing we're going to do is remove these pillar balls, and to do that we're just going to have to take the wheel off. So you just want your wheel nut off, so we're going to remove that, and then the two caps on the end of these, and then remove these pillar balls, and then we should be able to get to these spacers. Now I believe the bottom one is kind of countersunk, so it won't remove the entire width of this spacer, but we'll get back to that when we get down to it. So I'll crack on with that and see what we can achieve. Right, so that's this shim out and that one, and let's see if it makes it any better. So under full compression it's still pretty close to the end of the diff cup, especially when it's right at the bottom there. You can just see the dog bone just starting to stick out. But this is damaged ends on this diff output cup. So first thing I'm going to do is swap that, and then if that doesn't improve it, I might look at just putting a piece of pipe to just restrict the extent of the compression on this suspension, because it's only really right up at extremes when it starts to poke out. But as I say, there's quite a lot of damage on that output cup. So what we're going to need to do is these two, them two grub screws, and then you've got 2 screws at the front, 2 screws at the rear, just to get this bumper connection, crumple zone, whatever you want to call it, out of the way. We'll get the diff out and change that diff cup. Right, just to give you an idea of how much damage is on that diff cup, that's pretty splattered. don't worry about the markings on here. That's only from when we were setting it up, just trying to get the shim on the input gear right. But that's what it should look like, and that's what it does look like. So just with the shims removed that we have, we might actually get away with a no output drive on it. So we'll get that swapped out and have a look. Right, so one nicely fitted diff output cup, and the dead one's removed. And if you're wondering where I got these from, these are, let's have a look, RC all-wheel drive. There'll be a link in the description below, but these were a lot cheaper than the Arrma ones. And I mean, let's face it, quality's not going to be worse than an Arrma part, so... Right, I'm going to get some grease in here and get it put back on. And then we'll see if they're... if we need to take anything else out of the end of these suspension arms. Right, so no output drive fitted, and if we squash the suspension all the way up, it's just starting to get to the end of that drive shaft cup now. Now if I let this suspension drop probably about 5mm, it's well within the inside of it, well within the limits. So I think what I'm going to do is get some fuel line for a nitro, and I'm going to make some bump stops. Right, so all I've done with this end collar, just in case it does give it a little bit more strength, is drilled the hole out in the centre of it so the pill ball can just screw straight through, and then just knocked this back on. It does go on pretty tight, so especially once you've clamped it and drilled an hole through it. But that's all that back together. Right, let's see if we can make some bump stops. Alright, so we've got the hole drilled through the middle of that, so we can put that bit back on. And all I've put on the end of the shocker is a little bit of silicone fuel line, and then just slid the boot back over it. But if I put it under complete compression now, that's all way compressed, and there's dog bones nowhere near coming out end of his output cup. So we should be good to go. I've just got to repeat it again on that side, and then we'll see if we can get the wheels lined up any better than what Arrma did. And just in case you're interested how I got that on, literally remove the end, slide it all the way on, screw the end back on, put the Arrma shock cap back down with the spring over, and then compress the spring, and it'll shove that all the way to the bottom, and it'll even push the rubber cover over it for you. Right, so that's the hole drilled through end of that, and I had to put it in vise, so it was a bit awkward to get back on. So if you struggle getting that back on, get yourself one of those, put that on, put that through it, tighten it up, and it'll push that on for you. So all we need to do now is let's get it back together in right order. Be a good start. So I've got both shocks done now, and we just need to work this into place, and then hopefully no more front drive shafts popping out. And we've still retained these little red collars just in case they needed to give it a little bit of support, stop the A-arm splitting on the end where the pill ball goes in. And hopefully you can see there, it now goes inside. So it goes inside rather than sitting on this, and that allows it to close the gap up just a little. But we've got the spacers in the shocks, so you just need to pop these little things back in. Just be careful when you do this, because you don't want to over tighten them. And also on a side note, these over tightened can be one of the contributing factors to your servos burning out. because these can be quite grippy, and if you do over tighten them, your servo is going to be working overtime trying to just steer even with no load on the actual wheels or tyres. So what I tend to do, if you tighten it up like that, you'll see it's quite stiff. If you just back it off a tiny bit, you'll feel it go loose, but there's no play on the actual hub itself, and that's what you're looking for. Then we get the wheel back on, and the little serrated edges on these, so you've got a smooth side and a serrated side, they want to face your wheel. So hopefully we'll have a bit of a better looking wheel angle now. And that's all back together. So, as suspension's working, as dog bones shouldn't be popping out anymore. And see if I can get a shot from the top. And the crazy toe out's gone. So all in all, pretty successful. I mean, there's still enough suspension travel to completely bottom the car out. So it's not like putting them probably 4 or 5 mil spacers in has actually stopped any travel that we had. But if you like these crazy antics, like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys again in the next one.